my pleasure today to introduce not our guest speaker, but our keynote speaker. And the reason I say it's not a guest speaker is this person is not a guest. This person is one of us. Mr. David Pritchard. Mr. Pritchard is a teacher and coach at Cumberland County High School and has been since 2006. I happened to have the privilege of hiring him when he came to Cumberland County a few years ago, and Cumberland County was definitely the winner in that. I could read a lengthy vita listing all kinds of accomplishments that David has had, but what a resume will not say is that he is a man of deep integrity and deep honor. To me, these qualities far surpass a win and loss record because of the example and the role model that he is in the classroom and the example and role model that he is to hundreds of young men on a baseball field. May I bring you David Pritchard.
All right, guys. First off, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I consider it a big honor and a privilege. And we'll try to liven this thing up a little bit. But before I get started, there's been a theme of literacy this morning especially. And I just wanted to throw this up here. This would be my go-to reading list. Some books that really have impacted me. If you're a type A personality like me, if you want to whip your phone out and take a picture of that. Or if you would like to send me an email, I would be happy to pass that along. I could probably add about 10 more to that. But I didn't want to put 20 to 25 books on that list. These are books that have really impacted me, and I want to encourage you to be a lifelong learner. You know, what are you doing? What are you reading today? If I was an administrator, one of the questions that I would ask, I think, in every interview would be, what are you reading? Because I want to know what you're doing right now to be a lifelong learner. And, you know, reading, Becky Atkinson will probably give me a hard time about this, but reading your fiction, enjoy it, it's okay. But make sure that you're getting some other stuff that's really going to improve who you are, improve what you do. Okay, how is it impacting your life? So this is my list. Again, I'll feel free to pass that along if you're interested in it. For those of you who don't know me, I am Dave Pritchard, baseball coach at Cumberland County High School. I also teach physical education. I don't know where the time went, but this will be my 14th year in education. I've spent 15 years coaching high school baseball, 10 of those here in Cumberland County. Part of the reason that I wanted to speak to you today is, you know, often in the spring I go to a lot of coaching clinics and they'll trot out these huge lineups and want to get the best college coaches or get some pro guys to speak. But the guys that I really want to hear are the high school guys, because I don't get to recruit who I want to recruit like a college guy. I don't have pro athletes. Okay, I'm dealing with high school people, so I want to hear from high school people. So I wanted to speak to you today, and I hope I have a message that will resonate with you. But I wanted you to understand that I'm in the trenches with you. Okay, last year we had Inky Johnson come here, and he was awesome, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But we often get speakers that come in and they go, and they do the same thing somewhere else, and somewhere else, and somewhere else. Well, Monday I'm going to be the same place you are. Okay, so the things that I'm going to say are things that you can do. It's real. Okay? When I went my first year here back in 2007, in January, I go to a coaching clinic in Nashville, actually in Franklin, and I was checking in at the Marriott, and I never will forget. I wish I had enough awareness at the time to really figure out who it was, but another high school coach came up to me and he put his hand on my shoulder. I don't know if he knew who I was, but he said, "Congratulations on getting the job, but I wouldn't have touched it with a 10-foot pole." Okay, so I want you to understand that I'm in the trenches with you. I totally understand that as a rural county, sometimes our perception or what people perceive of us outside the county is not always pleasant. Okay, but I'm going to battle just like you are every day here. So, what are we trying to do? What am I trying to do today? Well, here's the goal. Here's what I hope we can accomplish. One, you've heard it. It's kind of been woven throughout everything we've done today. I want you to understand the impact that you have, because you definitely have an impact. I'm hopeful that you can make this school year the best you've ever had. I really hope that you will listen and try to apply what you hear today. Whether I'm a bus driver, whether I'm a maintenance guy, whether I'm a custodian, whether I'm a cafeteria worker, whether I'm an administrator or an teacher in the classroom, I hope that you'll listen and try to apply that. And not only that, but when you leave the school building and go home, that you can apply it there as well. And this is real big. I want you to erase "I will try" and replace it with "I will." Because I'm going to say some things, you've heard some things already today, and it's real easy for you in your chair right now to say, "I'll try that." But what you're doing, whether you realize it or not, is you've put in a loophole for it not to work or to give up on it. So if I replace "I'll try" with "I will," there is no room for error. There's no room for mistake. I'm just simply going to get it done. And I want you to understand this as we get started. All that I create is a reflection of me. So think about the kids that are going to come into your classroom on Monday. You can only give them what you are. All that you create is a reflection of you. You can't provide them things that you aren't already. You can't offer those things. Okay? All you create is a reflection of what you are in that moment. With that said, we have to understand, when I get my team together, one of the first things that I tell them is, all right guys, the sooner that you learn that this is not about you, the better off this is going to be for you and everybody else. Okay, so as an educator, we have to understand this isn't about you. Okay, you're not the number one priority here. A few years ago, we had a practice shirt. It's been several years now, but on the back, that's what it said. It's not about me. You can imagine with teenage boys, this was not the most popular practice shirt that I ever had, but it's not about me. Okay, when you go into the classroom, when I get into the bus at 5 o'clock in the morning, I got to understand it's not about me. Okay? The leaders and people that I build up, the people that you impact, the people that you invest in, the relationships you develop, and the success strategies that you share, that is what endures and ripples throughout eternity. It's all about relationship. Okay? As a good educator, as an attempt at a good educator, we got to get people involved, right? I need 2 volunteers. 2 volunteers. Don't be shy. I need 2. Come on up here, Marty Davis. I need somebody. Come on up here, Charlie. That's never stopped you before, Marty. So it's not about you. Okay? It's about the lives that you have an opportunity to impact. And I want to give you a little visual here. Because I don't want you to live simply in the moment. I don't want you to live just for yourself. I want you to be able to see the big picture. Okay, so I've got a rope here. We're going to look at the rope. All right, Marty, I want you to take that, and I want you to go that way. Charlie, you come over here. And just hold that tight. All right? Now, it's a rope. And they're getting old. They still think they can tug on this, and you'll know what I'm saying in a minute, but they're powerless. So I got a rope here. And I want you to pretend or to visualize that this rope is a picture of time. Okay, this is a timeline. And all the way in this direction, and even farther than where Charlie's holding it. All the way, just imagine it goes on forever. This is eternity past. Okay? As far back as your mind can even grasp. All in this direction. You see, I got a ribbon here and a little bitty piece of tape. From this point forward, that's eternity forward. All the way until you can't even imagine. Okay? And what we've got here at this ribbon, and in reality, I wanted to make this big enough so that you could see it. But in reality, this is too small. I mean, it's too big. It's too big. You should need a microscope to see this. But what this is you. Okay? And in the moment that you're born to the moment that you're going to move on. Okay? And James, the book of James tells us that life is a vapor, just like that. It's gone. So if this is where I'm at, and this is where I only am, and this is where all of my focus is, I'm going to miss the point. And it's going to be over like this, and what's going to be left? Right? See, it's all about relationship. As an educator, you may hear this. What's the goal? As a teacher, and we talk about this at the high school level especially, as a teacher, what's the goal with this student? And it would be real easy to say, the goal with this student is to create a leader. But if that's where it stops, then we failed. Because that's the tape. It's right here. See, my job as an educator, your job as an educator, is to create a leader that can in turn create a leader. Because then you see a ripple effect all the way through eternity's future, way past your vapors gone. See, it's not about me, and it's not about the here and now. It's about the relationships that I build, the strategies that I can share, the impact that I can have that will ripple all the way through eternity's future. Don't get caught up in simply the here and now. Thank you, guys. Maybe we'll hop out of our seats here in the future. Here's $50 cash. Charlie. Now, that, by the way, is compliments of Action Heating and Cooling. So I'm going to need a volunteer later, so we might have a floor fight right here for another volunteer. So here's the deal. It's all about relationships. What are they going to remember? What are they going to remember? There are several people in this room right now. Come April, come spring, your students are going to have to take a test. You're going to get results from those tests. Okay, that's going to have an impact on your career. There's a lot of pressure. But I'm here to tell you right now, 10 years, 15 years, 25 years from now, when your students come back, they're not going to have a clue what their test score was. Not a clue. It's going to be about relationship. I can tell you right now, and I haven't been in it terribly long, I guess 15 years is long enough, but if I took the first 5 years that I coached and I had the opportunity to get all those guys together for dinner, I guarantee you that maybe the first 5 minutes would be about, do you remember when we won this game, or what the score was in this game, or how many games we won X year? And the rest of the 2 to 3 hours, however long it was, it's going to be about silly things that happened, about the day the coach got mad that he threw this, or whatever happened. It's about relationship. It's not going to be about my wins and losses. It's not going to be about your test scores. But I will tell you this. Yes, test scores are important. But if I understand and can grasp that it's about relationship, and I'm having an impact and creating a relationship with those students that I can impact, test scores are going to come. Those things will take care of themselves. So understand it's all about relationships. And ask yourself, these students that I have starting Monday, what are they going to remember? See, we are who we are because somebody loved us. You are who you are because somebody loved you. Your students, your coworkers, your family, and your friends will become who they become because you love them, or how you love them, or the things that you've done for them, the relationship that you create with them. I want to tell you about Jed Grant. Nobody in this room has any clue who Jed Grant is except me. When I first started coaching, I coached at a real small school, and when I say small school, you don't understand small school. When I say small school, I'm talking graduate 25. Okay? And Jed was on my baseball team. And I'll tell you this about Jed. Jed was an average student. He could not hit a baseball. He could play pretty good defense, but he couldn't hit a lick. So Jed was a role player. And so his junior year, he got an opportunity to play a little bit of defense. He hadn't had it at bat, I don't think, in a varsity game. And I don't remember the exact circumstance, but we had got our tails beat, and I had all my team lined up against the fence, and I was just letting them have it. And I can't even really tell you what I said, and that's the point. I want you to hear me, that's the point. But at some point, in me addressing my team, I made a comment about Jed Grant and how, here's Jed Grant, hasn't gotten at bat all season. He's a role player, but he's doing his part. And if everybody else would do their part, like Jed's doing his part, we're going to be okay. Now, weeks later, kids talk, and weeks later, I had a couple players come up to me and informed me, I had no clue, informed me that Jed had made a decision that day, before any of that took place, that if he didn't get to play more, he was just going to quit. He was going to quit. Okay, I had no clue about that. No clue. So after I had said something positive about Jed's work ethic, he stuck it out. He stuck it out. I had no clue that he was thinking about quitting. Well, long story short, Jed graduates, joins the Marines, serves 2 tours in Afghanistan, comes back, enrolls at Auburn University. A couple years ago, I had the opportunity to go down to Auburn and attend his wedding. Graduates from Auburn University with an architect degree. I never will forget, about 5 or 6 years ago, I'm driving down Miller Bypass, I think it's a Saturday morning, and I get a phone call from Jed Grant's mom, who had just received a letter from a commanding officer in the Marines, talking about how Jed was such a good leader, natural leader, was doing such a good job, and she just wanted to share that with me because she felt like I had had some kind of impact in that. Now, rewind that all the way back to Jed Grant's about to quit. And I just happened, so I'm not patting myself on the back here, I just happened to say something positive about Jed Grant. And it potentially changed his entire direction. So for us to think that we have no impact, you're crazy. And it's not even just an impact with the things that you know that you intentionally are going to say. Everything that comes out of your mouth has an impact on the students that are in your classroom, the students that you coach, the students in your club, the students that ride your bus, the students that come through your lunch line. See, this is one of my favorite quotes. One coach will impact more young people in a year than the average person does in a lifetime, from Billy Graham. But what I want you to understand today is, yes, I officially wear the label as coach, but everybody in this room is a coach. And you have an opportunity to impact more kids in a lifetime in 1 year than the average person does in a lifetime. If you're teaching 2nd grade, well, you're coaching reading. If you're an algebra teacher, well, you're coaching math. Everybody in here is a coach. And you have a wonderful opportunity to impact the lives of students. So let's talk about sphere of influence. Everybody in here has a sphere of influence. At Cumberland County High School, there are over 1,000 students enrolled. So if I approach the new school year, if I walk into the door on Monday and say, this school year, I'm going to have a positive effect and create a relationship with each and every student in this building. Come May, I will be a miserable failure. It's not going to happen. It's humanly impossible. I don't have enough time, there's not enough hours in the day for me to make that happen. But see, the goal at Cumberland County High School, or at your school, should be to understand that we all have a sphere of influence. There is a group of students that I have an opportunity to impact like no other person has. And the same goes for you. There's nothing special about me. The same goes for you. You have an opportunity to impact a certain group of students, a greater potential than any other person in this room right now. The key is, do you know who those students are? I encourage you to go home and sit down and really think about that. I guess if I'm an elementary teacher, it's real obvious. It's the kids that I have all day long in my classroom. Lord help you. If it's a high school, or who am I coaching? Do I have a team? Do I have a club? If I'm a high school teacher, maybe it's just pockets of the classes that I have. Whatever it is, do I understand who those are? And if I understand who it is, am I maximizing my opportunity for impact? I want you to understand something. Here's a little visual. This is a picture of me going back to college. If you backtrack all the way to when I was playing college baseball and move forward with every guy that I played with, through every kid that I've coached, now represented by these some 18 or 19 states and 4 countries. And here's what I mean by that. I had a catcher in Florida who is now a missionary in Africa, digs wells. You never know what's going to happen, but I have no intention of ever going to Africa. But when he's in Africa, digging wells in small communities, I'm having an impact there through him. I got a kid that played for me here who's in the Army stationed in Alaska. I'm probably never going to Alaska. But right now I'm having some sort of impact, good or bad, in Alaska. Jed was in Afghanistan. I sure hope I'm never in Afghanistan. But on some level, I've had an impact in Afghanistan. The point is, you don't know in your 3rd grade classroom on Monday where those little feet are going to go. Because where those little feet go, you go. Understand your impact. And just like the 1,000 kids in the school, everybody's vital. Everybody's important. I'm not going to reach all 1,000. So if I know my sphere of influence, the kids that I have an opportunity to impact, and you know your group, and you know your group, then we can get them all. And that's the point. All right, audience participation. What is this? Yay, it's a turtle. What really is it? A turtle what? It's a turtle on a fence post. It's not rocket science. It's a turtle on a fence post. Now, this question is not any harder. How did he get there? Somebody put him there. Okay, the last time I checked, turtles didn't climb posts. That is a turtle on a fence post. So somebody took the turtle and put him on the fence post. What I want to tell you is, change your perception. Because you are the turtle on the fence post. You have every right, when you walk out these doors today, to believe what you want to believe. But I'm here to tell you right now in this moment that you are where you are, and there is no chance or coincidence to that. I am a firm believer in that. The roster that you're going to get on Monday, there is no chance there. There is no chance. The day that you have bus duty, there's no chance to that. Because whether it's once or whether it's every day, somebody's going to cross your path during those 20 to 25 minutes this year and is going to need to talk to you. There's no chance to it. You're the turtle on the fence post. So if you are, understand this. This is one of my favorite quotes from Jim Tressel, The Winner's Manual. It's easy to think that somewhere out there's a perfect place where everyone is happier and has nicer things. The car, the house, the better life. But that's an illusion. Today, the place where we are is the place that God has put us for a reason. Whether that be a mansion or a shack. If we believe that is true, then there can be no better place, because paradise is where we are. You are where you are supposed to be. It would be real simple for me to look off in the distance and say, why can't I work in Blount County because I would make $10,000 more? Gee, that would be nice. But I'm supposed to be where my feet are today. There is no chance to that. Change your perception. Guys, my faith is very important to me. And as a side note, somebody needs to hear this today, and I don't know who it is. If there are things in your life that you consider valuable and hold dear to your heart, do not be ashamed of them. And do not be afraid to share. Okay? But usually, I wish it happened more often, but to me, usually there's some scripture that will stick out to me. You know, you'll read a book and something will jump off the page. It usually just happens to me once or twice a year. I guess I'm a bad guy, but that's when it happens. And this year, this summer in particular, this has jumped off the page at me. Ephesians 4:1, I therefore, a prisoner for the Lord, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called. So Paul is sitting in a jail cell, and he is writing this to the church in Ephesus. I get that. I also get that you are not the church in Ephesus. Okay? But I do feel like what he is saying here is applicable to everybody in here. Because here's what he's saying. 3 things. 1, you are valuable. Somebody in here needs to hear that today. And maybe more than one person. You are valuable. Everybody in here has value. So, if you are valuable, you are called to a purpose. You have a purpose. Remember that roster you're going to get on Monday? There's no chance to that. You are valuable and you have a purpose. So, if you are valuable and if you are called to a purpose, then walk in a manner worthy of your calling. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I walking in a manner worthy of my calling? Do I understand the weight of my position? Do I understand that, yes, I am that turtle on a fence post. I was placed here. So do I treat the occasional day too casually? Or do I understand what I was called to do? And am I walking in a manner worthy of that calling? I just want to challenge you to that. All right, I need my other volunteer. Let's duke it out. Just the first person on the stage. That's how I roll. All right, this is not very complicated, so I don't think you can screw this up. I have in my hands a gift. Okay, everybody can see it. It's a nice gift box. Okay? So I'm going to ask you a question. I guess you can get in here real close so they can hear me. If I have a gift, okay, and I present it to you, who's it for?
You gave it to me, so it's for me.
That's right. It's for him. Right? If I have a gift and I give it to him, then it is for him. Everybody agree with that? All right. Thank you, sir. Here's your $50 hard cash. Compliments that actually enjoy. Well, I want to tell you, I want to change your perception again, and I want to tell you that, see, everybody agreed in here that that was his gift. Well, I want to tell you here that you're wrong. Okay, and here's what I mean by that. Everybody in this room has been given gifts. Okay? But they're not for you. They're for the people around you. They're for the kids that you're going to have this year. If I understand that, then it's going to change the way that I go about things. Okay, do I understand that the gifts that I've been given are for other people? Because see, here's the goal. The goal is you are to be poured out. I mean, completely poured out. At the end of the day, am I tired? Because if I'm not doing something right. At the end of the week, am I tired? Because if I'm not doing something right. So how do we do some of this? Well, the first thing that you have to do, you got to lose this "it's not my job" mentality. We have, me and some of my closest friends, baseball coaches, we have this running joke that basically we just say a baseball coach can do anything. And what we mean by that is, over the years I've been an electrician, a plumber, a psychologist, a bus driver. It would be real easy for me to say, well, that's not my job. It's not my job. I'm not going to deal with that. So you got to lose the "it's not my job" mentality. Change your perception from have to get to. Do I have to do this, or do I get to do this? I want to step on your toes just a little bit. Common denominator in the room. Let's talk about bus duty, and let's talk about ball game duty. This is where I get on my soapbox, because ball game duty really chaps me. But you hear it all the time. Oh, I have to do bus duty on Monday. Or I have ball game duty tonight. What do you mean? You have to. Change your perception to get to. So let me get this straight. I walk into a classroom and I expect little Johnny to give me 100%. But it's too much for me to go watch him play a game. I didn't ask you to go watch him play all 30. But it's too much for me to go watch him play once. You want to talk about getting that kid to be poured out for you? Be poured out for him a little bit. Change your perception from have to get to, and quit thinking that all these things are hard. Oh, I got to turn in lesson plans on Monday morning. That's hard. Or bus duty is hard. I wake up 30 minutes earlier. Or for the ladies, an hour. Let me show you something. I want to show you something. Let's get real. That's hard. That kid's 12 years old. His dad was a police officer. That picture was taken this spring. His dad got shot and killed. That's as close as he's going to get. And then they're about to wheel that sucker out. And we're worried about bus duty. That's hard. Change your perception. Ask yourself what's in your bucket. See, last year we had Inky Johnson and he was awesome. And what's his thing? He keeps saying, empty the bucket, right? Well, emptying the bucket's great. But if I took my bucket right here and I emptied it, what am I going to get? All I'm going to get is what's in it. So, evaluate what's in your bucket. See, everybody in here has a bucket. If we take a look at my bucket, I'm a PE teacher. I got my running shoes in here because I like to exercise. I got my cycling shoes in here because I like to ride my bike. I got a book in here because when my kids go to bed, sometimes I like to read. I got my Bible in here. I got a picture of my wife. I got a baseball. See, the things that are in my bucket, this is what I'm making time for. And my bucket's only so big. So you got to really evaluate what's in your bucket. Do I have the right things in my bucket? Or again, go back to the rope. Is it just about me? Is it just about me in the here and now? Evaluate what's in your bucket. So how do we have the best year that we ever had? Real quick, 5 things. 5 non-negotiables. They come from The Legacy Builder by Rod Olson. I highly encourage you to read it. You can knock it out in an hour and a half. Super easy read. So what do we do? And what's non-negotiable mean? We can't change it. We can't pick and choose. 5 non-negotiables. If you do these things, you're going to have a great year. 1, specify the win. Specify the win. What I mean by that is, when you go home at night and you lay your head on the pillow, do you know if that day was a win or not? Was it a good day? Did I accomplish what I set out to accomplish? See, if I don't know that, what's my life going to amount to? I have to specify the win. I got to have a 200-foot mentality. That simply just means I'm going to focus on the things that are in front of me now. Let's say that I'm a second grade teacher. This is my first year teaching, and I'm sitting in my chair right now stressed out about my TCAP or whatever it's called now in April. You're going to have a miserable year. I got to worry about the 200 feet that are in front of me. What am I going to focus on today that's going to help April be a good thing? Focus on the process. Have specific goals. Be intentional with everything that you do. On my wrist, I've got a wristband that we handed out to players a few years ago. It's simply a blue wristband. It says Jets Baseball on one side. On the back, it says purpose. One word. But what that does is it serves a reminder to me every time that I see it that everything I do should have purpose. Everything I should do should have purpose. I'm to be intentional with every step that I take. Will this have sound if I put this? I want you to listen to Coach Saban here. No booze.
Day in and day out to be successful, we try to define, the standard that we want everybody to sort of work toward, adhere to, and do it on a consistent basis. The things that I talked about before, being responsible for your own self-determination, having a positive attitude, having great work ethic, having discipline to be able to execute on a consistent basis, whatever it is you're choosing to do, those are the things that we try to focus on. And we don't try to focus as much on outcomes as we do on being all that you can be and the things that you need to do to be all you can be. Eliminate the clutter and all the things that are going on outside and focus on the things that you can control with how you sort of go about and take care of your business. And that's something that's ongoing and it can never change. And, so it's the process of what it takes to be successful, very simply.
That guy's pretty good at what he does. Simply the process of doing what it takes to be successful. Focusing on things that I can control. Focusing on the here and now. Focusing on the process. Number 2, simplicity. Keep things simple. Are you faithful? Are you available? And are you teachable? Are you faithful? Do I show up to work every day willing to be poured out? Am I available? If a kid needs extra work, if he wants to stay late, if he wants to come in early, am I available? And am I teachable? Am I a lifelong learner? I got news for you. Me personally, if you're in this room today and you think you've already got it all figured out, I don't have time for you. Your job is to be a lifelong learner. Again, remember, all I create is a reflection of me. You cannot give away what you do not already possess yourself as a leader. It is critical that you're a lifelong learner. Control what you can control. And how do I do that? How do I control what I can control? Well, every day I can control my attitude that I show up with and the effort that I put forth. There are a lot of things that are going to happen to you throughout the course of a year that you have zero control over. I'm telling you right now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that there's somebody in this room that's going to get a roster on Monday. They're going to be like this. They're going to look at that class roster and they're just going to, really? I'm supposed to do something with this? Right? Well, again, there's no chance. Okay? You got that roster for a reason. Control what you can control. Number 3, be a 3-dimensional leader. First off, know your stuff. If I'm teaching high school physics, I better know physics, or we're just not going to go any further. So know your stuff. Number 2, know how to motivate your students. Every day, that's getting harder. But it's our job to figure it out. Know how to motivate your students. Lastly, capture their heart. Become invested in their lives. Go back to that ball game duty. If I show up and watch this guy play, or hey, I know you had a road game last night. How'd yesterday go? How'd you do? How was the game? Get involved in their life. Number 4, the power of speaking greatness. Proverbs 18:21, life and death are in the power of the tongue. You have the ability to raise somebody up or to beat them down to their knees simply by what comes out of your mouth. Knowing that, work to practice a 3-to-1 ratio. What I mean by that is 3 good things to 1 negative thing. I struggle with that. But 3 good things to 1 negative thing. Understand the power of the tongue. Lastly, value people over productivity. Emphasizing people always improves performance. If your students know that you care about them, you're going to get more out of them. If your students know that he just wants a good test score out of me, it's going to be a long, painful year. Look for opportunities to demonstrate to your sphere of influence that they are more important to you than what they can do for you. Care about them. Real simple. Care about them. Know what their interests are. What do you like to watch on TV? How's life at home? How's this going? How's that going? Lastly, I want to end with this. We've talked about literacy. This is one of my favorite books. This is The Boy Who Changed the World by Andy Andrews. I am no reading expert, and I'm super glad that I don't teach elementary school. But if I was a 1st through 3rd grade teacher, this book would be in my classroom and I would pour it into my students constantly. The Boy Who Changed the World by Andy Andrews. And basically, this is what the book is about. One of the biggest lies that you are going to hear, and trust me, we're in a culture war. One of the biggest lies that you're going to hear, and one of the biggest lies that your students hear on a daily basis is, oh, go ahead and do this, it's no big deal because it only affects you. Everything you do affects somebody else. Everything you do affects somebody else. And that's the premise of this whole book. It tells the story of Norman Borlaug. Norman Borlaug was a scientist who was able to hybridize wheat and corn for really tough climates. So basically, this guy had the job of figuring out where corn and wheat would grow, where pretty much nothing else would grow. And he figured it out. And from the day that he figured it out to now, it's estimated that he is responsible for saving the lives of over 2 billion people because of drought and famine. He has saved the lives of over 2 billion people. So see, it would be real simple and real easy for us to really get pumped up about Norman Borlaug and what a great guy he was. But see, everything you do affects somebody else. There was a guy by the name of Henry Wallace. Henry Wallace was the vice president under FDR. He was a former Secretary of Agriculture. He used his position to create a station in Mexico whose sole purpose was to hybridize wheat and corn for arid climates. And he hired a young man by the name of Norman Borlaug to do the job. So we can look at that and say, well, wait a minute. I guess it was Henry Wallace who really saved 2 billion people. Or knowing that everything that you do affects somebody else. We can look at George Washington Carver. Everybody know George Washington Carver, the peanut guy? Well, what you probably don't know is as a 19-year-old student at Iowa State University, he had a professor who allowed him to take his 6-year-old son on the weekends on little botanical expeditions and just get him excited about plants. Well, the professor's son was Henry Wallace. So George Washington Carver poured into this 6-year-old boy and got him fired up about plants. And the story goes on and on. So we can look at George Washington Carver and say, well, man, I guess it was Carver that saved the lives of 2 billion people. Or knowing that everything you do affects somebody else, we can go back even further and look at Moses Carver. Moses Carver was a farmer in Diamond, Missouri. And he lived in a state with his wife, Susan Carver. in a state that allowed slavery, but Moses didn't. So see, that caused a lot of problems and ruffled a lot of feathers. So one day Quantrill's raiders came through and raided Moses' farm, and in the process burned everything down and grabbed a woman by the name of Mary Washington and took her off with them. And Mary was clinging to her son, refused to let her son go, and then they hauled her off. Well, see, this Mary Washington was Susan Carver's best friend, so Moses Carver frantically did everything that he could, contacted everybody that he knew to try to get a meeting with some of Quantrill's raiders to get him back. And he finally, after a couple of days, he finally gets a meeting. And he takes his horse, the last horse that he had after his farm was ravaged, and he rides 4 hours north. And he meets Quantrill's raiders, and he trades his only horse that he had left for, they threw him in a burlap sack, and he caught it, and it was a little baby. And so from that day forward, Moses Carver took that little baby boy and raised him as his own, gave him his last name, and promised to give him an education to honor his mother, because he already knew that his mother was most likely dead. So he took that little George Washington, gave him his name, and got him an education. So we can look at that and say, well, really, I guess it was that small town farmer from Diamond, Missouri that saved the lives of 2 billion people. Or we could go back, and go back to see who really made the decision, who took action, who did something that had that ripple effect, go back to the rope, and save the lives of over 2 billion people. Or what I really want you to think about today is, let's think about you. Think about the ripple effect in your future, the decisions that you're going to make. See, you need to understand that there are generations that have yet to be born that are going to be impacted by decisions that you make tomorrow and the next day and the next day. The decisions that you make in your classroom this year will impact generation upon generation upon generation. Don't underestimate your impact. See, you've got eyes in the front of your head for a reason. And I'm sure there were some people in here that had a really awful year last year. And it's real easy to start this year off and dwell in the past, but it's just going to create more misery. You got eyes in the front of your head to move forward. Forget about the past. Control what you can control. Keep moving forward. Understand this. The success that you create now is temporary, but the legacy that you leave is eternal. The success that you create now is temporary, but the legacy that you leave is eternal. Guys, make your school year this year the best it's ever been.